Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Diablo 4 is getting a big update today. We have the Campfire Chat later in a few hours from now. And I want to make this video here and quickly talk about what I'm expecting, but also what I'm hoping is changing for the mid-season update here in Diablo 4. Because a lot of players have already quit the game and more are quitting. In fact, the player retention looks a bit worse than in previous seasons. Like if I'm looking here at the graph, we can talk about some more details here. Like this has been the Vessel of Fated expansion, so the bump has not been as big, and we also see that the player numbers are dropping pretty drastically also here on Steam. So I have a list here of what I think is going to come or what is going to be discussed, and also what I hope they change. So the first thing, and many people have talked about it, it's not the elephant in the room, but it's very important, regarding ancestral items. So people not have a good chance to upgrade their aspects or to get, like, you know, the highest roll on their aspect. And I think there needs to be some way to address this. I like it there's an item hunt on these aspects, but getting like, you know, a fully like fledged out max roll on these aspects is extremely hard. And I think they could realistically, we could see either like an increase in the numbers of drops of ancestrals to make it easier to get the aspects, or maybe even additional ways to target farm it. And one way could be the Undercity, for example. Like, you know, we have these tributes here, and you have these, like, for example, passive ranks. So what if we could just pay, I don't know, like 200 million gold or whatever material to target farm guaranteed ancestral legendary items or something. Like, you know, pay some volume here to make it a bit easier. Like, I've been playing Bard now for quite some time, and look at this. This is my weapon, not like a 56 aspect. I have elements here at the 34. You know, I have a perfect leap aspect, but there's like a ton of aspects that I'm missing here. Look, my bolts chieftain, especially on ring aspects. Like, it's like almost impossible to get a perfect bolts chieftain unless you're trading. And right now, there are so many trading scams and dupes and stuff going on. I would be very careful. So this would be cool to see, and this has been a pain point of many people, guys. Like ancestral items and some better way to target farm or get aspects. Next big thing here, I think, is bug fixes. Obviously, we're also going to be talking about class balance in a second, but I think bug fixes to some degree is equally important because it also fills into the class balance a lot. So first of all, as you know, guys, there is a ton of dupes on the market. There is multiple duplication methods. We've had dupes every season. This season is no exception. This season is, in fact, the worst season in terms of dupe we ever had because they just are not fixing it. And the market is flooded with duped items. I have a video here where items disappearing, and you've seen it in the market as well. If you are trading items, my friends, be careful. Don't trade perfect items with strangers. There's a good chance you're going to get scammed, you're going to lose your gold, you're going to lose the item that you're trading. So these dupes, they really have to be fixed at some point. And I'm really hoping that today they're going to discuss or at least shine some light on what their plans are with all this duplication stuff. And then there is also a big masterwork exploit that you see here. People are able to masterwork their items well beyond the normal limit. I was actually like sad to not see like hot fixes for this or something, because this is just ruining the economy. It's also ruining like I mean, it's not a competitive game, but it's ruining the competitive spirit because it just feels like people are cheating, especially like, you know, on some of the community leaderboards, like all the top slots. Basically just all abuse this masterworking exploit that like you can't basically like do it randomly. It's like it only happens if you follow a certain steps, and the people are masterworking here their gear like well beyond normal limits. Like you can see this here, 18 resolve stacks and stuff, and it's just like unfair. And I think more and more people are also like doing this. Like, I know a few people that just say, like, fuck it, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. So it sends a really bad message also to the people, and more people are basically engaging this. Like, what I would like to see is, I don't know, like some sort of like pop-up information or something, like, we're working on this, we're aware of a masterworking exploit, don't use this, we will take action if you do use this and stuff. And yeah, it just like keeps spreading, like the dupes, the masterworks. It's crazy. And then there's also another exploit here. I made a full list actually of all the bugs that people use at the moment, and I think not every bug of this is like as bad as the duping, for example, right? But there's just like a ton of bugs here, like for example the movement speed that can be perma snapshotted to be at 200% movement speed. Like some of these, yes, are gonna be a niche problem, but I think the dupes and also the masterwork exploits are like went way beyond being a niche problem, and they need some sort of addressing, like on these kind of bugs. And then we also still have this Undercity bug. So if you are playing the Undercity, you might have noticed this, like you're putting in your tributes, and then it just not gives you any materials. Like they said they fixed this in some patches, but they really didn't. Like it keeps happening, and it's happened to me yesterday, the last time. Like you put in the refinement key, you have the masterwork material, and then you do not get any rewards from those keys. Like it feels really bad, especially if you're using the unique one or something. And also the bargains often don't work. So I think there's still a lot of like bugs here with this new functionality, and it's really sad because I personally really like the Undercity. I think it's a pretty cool system, and I'm having a lot of fun in the Undercity. But the crashes go along with this. Like if you guys are playing the Undercity, you might know this bug where your character doesn't load in or your game crashes. Like in a loading screen, you have a memory leak and stuff. The game has still been running very unsmooth. They have fixed a lot of the crashes. However, I think the last like 3 or 4 patches have all been stability issues, and these are much appreciated. However, it's not enough. Like we are still crashing, and I think in general the game is running way worse, at least for me personally in my experience and what I've heard from the community. The game has been running like way worse this Vessel of Fate expansion in comparison to any other season. I had the most amount of crashes by far. I know some people that still can't even play the game properly, and it's just like sad with all these game crashes. Maybe there needs to be like a revert to some previous version or something. I don't know exactly how they can fix it, but the crashes are crazy. And then next thing here is, again, the elephant in the room is the Spiritborn bugs and the Spiritborn being overpowered in comparison to all the other classes, and with that, obviously, the class balance. Again, we can see this here on the leaderboards, like how crazy like Spiritborn is clearing and all the other classes are lacking behind. And this is mostly due to bugs on the Spiritborn. However, I'm still a firm believer, guys, and this is not the first time I said this. I do not think that they should nerf the Spiritborn mid-season. I think players are having a ton of fun on the Spiritborn and invest a lot of time to masterwork and hunt down all their gear. And I think the best solution is to change the class balance of the Spiritborn, address the bugs that nerf the character in Season 7. Like when everybody's starting fresh anyways, this is going to be in January, we have Season 7. And I think this is when they should nerf it, because right now people are having a ton of fun, and you're just going to make them mad if you take it away mid-season when people invested so much time. And what I really like, they showed a lot of transparency here. I talked about this before. There's a poll here from general manager of Diablo 4 franchise, of Diablo franchise, Rod Ferguson here, that asked this publicly here on X, like just a direction, right, non-binding poll. But the majority of people said also, leave the Spiritborn. We are having a ton of fun, but please buff the other classes. And this is what I believe as well. I think they should leave it alone, the Spiritborn, for the rest of Season 6, change it in Season 7. But they need to do something with the other classes, because coming on the Spiritborn, you can't go back. It's not fun to play any other class. Like, it's not even anywhere close to the power. And I think there are a lot of reasons for this. But mainly, like, they've just been nerfing, like, all the popular cool builds, I feel like. We had Shred Druid, Whirlwind Barb, Hoda Barb, Ball Lightning Sork, Lightning Spear Sork, Spin 2 and Rogue, Bleed Barb, and just in general, Endaria Rogue, dot builds in general. And they have all been a ton of fun in the past, but have all been nerfed heavily ever since. And I think it would be cool to bring back some of those fan favorite builds. Man, I'd love to play a Shred Druid or a Ball Lightning Sork again, you know, and actually crush with it. That would be fun, at least until the end of the season, and then we can have a whole new class balance in Season 7. Buff underused skills, like the core skills come to mind, especially on Barb and Druid. Like the core skills are just extremely bad at the moment, and I think they could use a good laugh or bump up in general. And again, it doesn't have to be as crazy as the Spiritborn, right? It doesn't have to be completely nuts like 1,000,000x, no. Just something to make them all fun, make them all a bit more viable, and just let people have, you know, a great time here. And again, it's really cool to see this, you know, like non-binding polls, like let the community be involved in the decision making, right? And I honestly think they're not going to nerf Spiritborn, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think, again, for Season 6, do you think they'll nerf Spiritborn in Season 6, in the middle of the running season? Or would you rather think they are going to do it, you know, in the next season? Which is definitely my preference. And then another issue that I noted down here is Mythic Uber Boss ladder updates. So you may have noticed that it is pretty hard, or much harder, than in the seasons before to get Resplendent Sparks and to get your Mythic Uber Uniques. And the reason is they significantly reduced the drop rate. And they also removed the option to spawn like an Uber version of the bosses that had this higher drop rate, right? We can only fight a normal version of Duriel in Torment 4, Torment 3, Torment 2, whichever Torment level you want. And I was kind of hoping that we could still have, you know, like pay 5 times the materials to get 5 times the rewards. This would respect the player's time a lot more and make the Uber crafting and Uber uniques way more accessible, especially for a casual player trying to get, I don't know, like a Harlequin's Crest with cooldown or multiple greater affixes even, is almost impossible for a casual player. And I feel a big reason is that Duriel just gets one-shot in Torment 4 and even from non-Spiritborn classes. And the option to that we had last season, you know, to pay 10 Agony Shards, 10 X to spawn like an Uber version or an harder version of the boss in each different difficulty has just been completely removed. And with that, also the chance to getting an Uber unique has basically been, like, I don't know if it has been exactly divided by 5, but it definitely feels like that. Like, I'm getting like maybe 3 times less Uber uniques than last season. And that's just a bad feeling. And then another thing here to the boss ladder, a blacksmith in the boss room, like that would be fantastic, so you don't have to go back to town all the time and stuff. However, I think this is a bit more unlikely, and these things here are more likely to happen. And now I have one more point here that is basically mainly about, like, you know, nice to have. These are like dreams. This is not what I'm expecting is gonna happen. Like, at least let's say the buffs, the class balance, and some of the bug fixes, this is what I'm heavily expecting to happen, to learn about today in the Campfire Chat. But now is like Dreamland, you know? So I would like to see more endgame longevity in Diablo 4. That means maybe harder difficulty tiers. Like we have Torment 4 right now as the hardest, and I mean the system is already made in such a way that you can very easily add more tiers, right? Like if you look at the Torment system here, you see there's already space for at least 3 more Torment levels. And I think we need them, because there's just, like, Torment 4 is just not a challenge at the end, right? You play a couple days and then you're in Torment 4, everything gets one-shot, even on non-Spiritborn classes at some point, right? If you're playing a meta build at least. So there could be more tiers, I feel. That wouldn't hurt, because the scaling isn't really too crazy. And yeah, it would also help with the Uber unique problem and stuff like that. And also unlimited pit scaling. I don't understand why we ever have a world where we can reach the maximum pit tier. Like we had pit 200 before. Like why not make it, like, leave it at pit 200, or at least have a scaling, an unlimited scaling that we can't reach. Like, obviously nobody expected Spiritborn to be this powerful. But why do we not have 1,000 pits in the game? Like, why can't we just have 1,000 pit levels, and then instead of like speedrunning the hardest content, and I get it, in Diablo 3 it was like a technical limitation or something, but here, like, we could just have infinite pit levels, like, I don't know, like go up to 1,000, and then maybe we can play, like, you know, 120, and Spiritborn right now is playing like in 170 or something. But still, like, it would be way more interesting to have like a real like leaderboard push. And again, it would be the Spiritborn leaderboard, right? Everybody's playing a broken Spiritborn. And it's not really like directly competing with the other classes. And then we could see, instead of speed runs, we could actually see like, you know, some challenging content rather than a 2-minute run. The same here with the Dark Citadel. I think the Dark Citadel, it would kind of get harder difficulties if we get, you know, more Torment difficulties. But then I think the Dark Citadel also needs some better rewards. Like, it's very cool to get transmogs that you can't get or you can't swipe for with your credit card or in the shop. So I think it would be super cool to have some of those amazing transmogs that they have in the shop, like either accessible through the Dark Citadel or even have rewards that you can't buy for money. I don't know, like for example, like some of these animals here, like it would be super cool to be, this is like the Mount of Diablo, the Lord of Terror himself. It would be super cool to have some of these rewards either exclusively or at least accessible also in the Dark Citadel. This is like kind of what I was hoping for, but I think the transmogs that you can get in the Dark Citadel right now are like kind of basic. And I would like a lot more to, you know, get some of these cool transmogs in the Dark Citadel. For example, as a reward. Again, then completely optional, right? Because it doesn't give you character power. But I think it would be cool to have some cool transmogs as rewards. They could be super rare, so you're like, you have this like pork, like man, these awesome moments where you actually find like a super hard to get, a super cool or a super drop. You know, that's not even increasing your character power. It just makes you look cool. I would love that. I don't know about you, but I would love that. Then obviously new content, new aspects. So in the mid-season patches in the past, they have brought back some old seasonal themes or some aspects, some items. So this might actually happen. But we'll see. It's still a dream that we get like some new content and stuff. They hinted at it in the post that they did. So maybe we'll get some new content. Then obviously here, this is also goes hand in hand with the dupes and people being scammed. An auction house or a safe way to trade items without getting scammed or encountering duplication exploits and duplicated items and losing your items or losing your gold. You know, the dupe situation in Diablo has always been bad, but it has never been as bad as it is today because they basically took it to a next level where they are also scamming other people and the RMT stuff is going crazy because the gold caps and stuff like this. There's a lot of problems with the trading right now, and I think a good and safe way for the players would be to have some sort of marketplace. Like, I'm not saying a real money auction house. I'm just saying like a basic marketplace where supply and demand can meet and be traded in a safe and secure manner, rather than people like, you know, buying cash or scamming other people, selling duplication items and stuff like that. I think a trading place and the trading chat in-game is not cutting it. Like, we need like, it could be like a vendor, right? Like you, I don't know, you go to a vendor here somewhere in the town and it just opens your interface. I don't know, like here, the merchant or whatever it's going to be called. You click with the merchant, you I don't know, you list an item or you buy an item at the merchant here and nobody gets scammed. It's a safe and sound way. And this could also be a nice way to take these billions and billions of gold out of the market, because people that would trade via this auction house merchant would have to pay, and this is a very normal thing to do, a gold fee. Like, I don't know, you sell an item, you sell it for 1 billion, I don't know, let's say this aspect here. I sell it for 10 billion gold, like, right? It's a perfect unyielding hit. I list it in the market, it gets sold for 10 billion, everything handles automatically, there's no dupes, like it takes the item from my stash, it gives it to the person that buys it in their stash. And then I receive gold and he receives the item. And instead of receiving 10 billion gold, I would have to pay a 10% fee, right? I would only receive 9 billion gold, for example. And the auction house is the fee. And this also keeps the gold prices in check, because right now there's so much duped gold and so many dupes floating around the market that basically every item costs 100 billion gold. And it's only going to get worse. And people can't even pay this because of the gold cap, and then they go into real money trading and stuff like that. It's just fucked up. It's against terms of service, and people just lose their stuff. So I don't know, like a safe way to trade items, man, that would be so important for me, at least long term. And they didn't even say that they're working on this or something. Like they don't have any interest in working on this. And I really hope that that stance at some point changes. Like we have this in World of Warcraft, we have this in Path of Exile now, and I think we also need it in Diablo 4. Yeah, then hand in hand with that, obviously more stash space. So there is some coding problems why they can't just code in more stash space, but I really feel like long term they have to figure this out. I think the amount of stash space that we have for the amount of characters and for the amount of items that we have is just not even close to be enough. And I'm not talking about one more stash tab. I'm talking about at least double the stash tabs. It is crazy bad at the moment. And obviously hand in hand with that goes like a dedicated rune inventory. They have this cool new feature, which is runes and rune words, but they don't even fit in the dedicated inventory for that. So I feel like we need a dedicated stash or something where the runes, obviously also well beyond 100, can stack. Because this is just stupid. Like one of my stash tabs is just fully taken by those goddamn runes, man. Like, and if I don't put them in my stash, you see what happens? I have them in my inventory and then I find, I don't know, a sun rune, but then I can't take it. I find a legendary rune, but my inventory is full. Even if I take all this out, you know, like it just wouldn't fit. You see this? Like it just doesn't fit in. So this is like another way of just creating a problem in the first place, you know, like a dedicated rune inventory. And then also they could make them stack. Like why do they only stack to 100? Why do living steel stack to 50? You know, why does a consumable here like Chores of War only stack to 20? Like, why do the Infernal Horde keys here, like, these are exactly the same key. Why do they only stack to 1? But at the same time, the tributes, which is also a key, they stack more. Like, we could have one stack for the wave 6, one stack for the wave 8, one stack for the wave 10. Like, it's so simple, but like, these are exactly the same. Like, I don't understand why they're not stacking. Like, there's a lot of quality of life here that I would like to see long term. The same here goes for the loot filter. Again, this is like a dream of mine that we're gonna have a loot filter at some point. It could be as simple. You know, we have like Last Epoch with some crazy, crazy cool customizable loot filter options. That is awesome, but it doesn't have to be as complicated, man. It could be so simple as in, we have an option to show ancestral items, you know, those greater affix items. And if we tick this option, then it's just not gonna show like a normal item, like that doesn't have, you know, a greater affix like this one. It just doesn't even show it, and then the pet just auto salvages it, right? You kill a boss, it drops 10 normal items and it drops 1 ancestral, and it would only show you the ancestral, and all the other items, just like it happens with blues and rares, gets automatically transverted into crafting materials. And then obviously you have your pet that's picking that up. Like, this is already in the game. We just need an opt-in function. This is the easiest way I can think about it. Just in the options, you have an opt-in function to also automatically salvage non-ancestral items and convert them into materials. That would be so amazing, man. And it would be like the simplest thing ever, I think. Like just make us opt in and you can opt out of it again. Like, you know, at the early game, you want to see these items. But like once you play for like, I don't know, 50 hours, like you don't really care about normal items anymore. And just allow us to auto salvage them into materials. It will also like obviously reduce the clutter and also make us play the game more, because we don't have to go to town every 10 minutes because our inventory is full. That would be so good, man. And then in general, also faster pet looting. This is another quality of life thing. You may have noticed this. Obduxite, materials, cinders, like, especially if you're playing, let's say, the flash build, or you're playing like any fast build. Like, the pet can't pick up the materials fast enough. They're on the screen, the cinders, but you're like evading and you're already like 5 screens away, and the pet doesn't pick it. That's a bad kitty. Like, it's just too slow. The pet, I don't know, it needs to have like bigger AoE or something. I mean, it's a good kitty, but It just can't pick stuff fast enough, and it needs a bit help with picking this, especially in nightmare dungeons where you have to literally like almost walk over every obduct site. But you really, like, it's easy content, you really want to do it fast and efficient, and it just feels bad to having to backtrack to pick the obduct site. Then last but not least, obviously guys, an armory, a loadout to save our build. So just take a snapshot of your build and save it into this armory, similar to like we had it in Diablo 3. Now they are confirmed to be working on this, guys, but I don't know, I lost hope. Like this feature is not coming out this year, guys. I'm thinking the armory is hopefully coming in 2025. Next year, guys, the armory, it gotta be in, man. And I also think we need like a test server for the armory, because we don't want more dupes, and the worst thing is we don't want the armory to make your items disappear like it happened in Diablo 3. So armory loadout, I really hope we're gonna get it next year. The sooner the better. But next year, man, it has to. It's actually crazy to me that the Vessel of Hatred expansion launched with no armory. And I was also checking some trends here. Obviously, like, there's still a lot of players in the game, right? I think we peaked on Steam in terms of player numbers. We peaked on Steam. But in general, the interest in Vessel of Hatred didn't seem much more than in the normal seasons. So you can see here, and also the player retention, if I'm going into the 12-month section. So you see here, this is the peak of the seasons. And you can even see that the Vessel of Hatred peak, which is this one here, is very similar. And the player numbers seem to be dropping even faster, at least comparison to Season 4, where we had that like big loot rework. So that was actually more interesting to the people to have, at least in terms of Google interest, right? Like, we don't have any official player numbers. But I think there's a strong correlation between the interest on Google and YouTube versus the actual player numbers, because obviously these are the only numbers that we have. But the retention rate doesn't seem that great right now, and I think it really shows that we still don't really have much to do in the end game. Like, it is really fun to play Spiritborn. I think the class is amazing. It's super well designed, but we really need like more content. We need more things to do in the end game. And I really hope that in a few hours today, guys, we're gonna get some cool stuff. I hope they surprise us. Again, like, these are the things I'm expecting, and I really hope to, you know, get some positive surprises with some of the stuff that I mentioned here. Like, that has been my take on it, guys. Let me know what you think. Again, the Campfire Chat here is going to be in the evening for us here on Europe, and it's going to be a ton of fun, guys. I'll be live streaming this in a few hours, and we'll be there, and we'll have a summary for you as well. So, hope dies last, my friend. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care, my friends. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.